Hello and welcome to the Star Wars Reporter podcast, the official podcast of StarWarsReporter.com, place you can get all your Star Wars news and geekdom. Today our topic is Return of the Jedi, part of our series of reviewing a look back at all the movies. But before we get to that, let's meet the scoundrels. We'll start with Revenge of the Jason.
As the Emperor is so fond of saying, better late than never. No, it's my fault. It's me. I'm the bad seed here. It's me. Hi, everybody. Return of the Jedi, man. I love it. No, we're like a minute late. It's my fault. It's my fault.
No. Speaking of bad seed, Trooper.
What an introduction.
There you go, right? Can't go better than that, right? I'm the bad seed.
Oh, sorry. I hit the wrong button. Trooper Todd, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, the person laughing at everyone, Kylo Jan.
Hello.
The brains, come on, the brains of the troop here. Come on.
Yes.
That's right. And of course, me, and I'm not going to do a close-up, but because, God, just ask my wife how horrible
Your
that
beard's all trimmed and everything.
you look
of all the
all-
weeks to
it's
do
all
a close
trimmed.
up, this is a good
All right.
one.
Did you
Yeah.
film it?
I actually looked at the video from last week, and it was massive. It was
Yeah.
massive. So
You look
it was
you
like,
look a lot more aerodynamic.
Yes.
instead of kind of like the insane, crazy wild man from the woods, I look like the insane, crazy wild man from the street. So
But come on. You can fly faster now when you're running.
I'm like
Odin is pleased.
running. Oh, you're asking a lot from me. How if I walk very briskly and then stop for a break?
Yeah, that's okay too.
All right. So before we get started, make sure everyone goes and follow us on all of our social media, which
All
is
of it.
Facebook, because there's some old people still that watch, and Instagram and Twitter. And of course, subscribe to us on YouTube, because that would help us out here and, make us famous, because that's what it's all about, dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So today's topic, I'm very excited about this because this is my favorite movie. We're looking at the end of the original trilogy from George
Dun, dun,
Lucas,
dun.
Return of the Jedi.
I've
So,
never seen that poster before.
Yeah, that's a new one.
I've never seen that one.
I always try to find
I
one of
like
those
that
like
one.
banner posters because it seems to fit the screen. I didn't do it very well, but
I
yeah.
like that one.
I actually colored that right before we went on.
Oh, did you really? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good work, Jason. Good job, man.
I mean, he
Thanks,
stayed
man.
mostly inside the line. Mostly.
Honestly.
So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of the end of, well, it was the end at the time until the prequels, but it was the end from what old guys like, me, Todd, and Jason probably thought that was the end of Star Wars.
Exactly. Oh, that's exactly it. And again, I talked about this before, but I just thought it would be a really good time to say it right now, is the fact that I lied to my mom. Sorry, Mom. To go watch this for the 5th time in theaters with my buddy Steve, Wookie Steve over there. Back in Ontario, I lied to my mom, said I was going to see Crawl, which I didn't go see in the theater.
You
Go
love
watch
Pearl.
Return of the Jedi for the 5th time. So
Such a bad influence.
Thank you for helping me lie to my mom there, Steve. I appreciate it.
Hey, whoa, don't bring me into that. She might actually watch this.
She got a new laptop, so she might be watching right now.
You're in trouble, buddy.
It's all Steve's
sorry.
fault, Mom.
No. Mrs. Jones, I'm sorry, but when Todd told me this scenario, I said, you better do what your mom says and go see Crawl. And
Right. Don't cry,
You know-
Wookiee, on us.
and then he made me play with matches and smoke a cigarette afterwards. It was crazy.
Whoa, time out.
You didn't say it was a cigarette.
But yes, 1983. Yeah, I got to watch it for the 5th time with my buddy Steve. So it was kind of cool.
Oh, that is the most like that is the cutest thing. Like,
Isn't it though?
like if my son lied to me to go see Star Wars, like I wouldn't even be mad. Like
I'd be
that
so
is
proud.
adorable. Like actually, I would be super happy because that would mean he likes Star Wars, and
Yeah.
we all know that I've failed my child already at this point because he doesn't like it. But
I could be wrong. I think even it only cost like $2.50 to see a movie back then. Do you remember
Yeah.
that, Steve? It was like not
that
much.
was way
It
before
might
my
have
time. What are you talking about?
been- Yeah, come on. I'm pretty sure it cost like $2.50, maybe
It was
$3.
$2.50. It was $2.50. Yeah, it was $2.50
Yeah.
because then cheap night was $2 or something like that. But
Uh,
it was
Who
really
knows, like-
cheap.
But yeah,
Back in our day.
it was good times. But Return of the Jedi, I remember as a kid seeing it when the trailers came out a year before in the summertime. Just that 1 year of waiting for the movie to come out. I remember 1983. I was 11 years old. I remember I would ask the popcorn teenagers, selling popcorn, when's Return of the Jedi? I would always ask every single week.
oh,
I was 11 years old. I didn't know, and of course, a teenager working, the cantina would look like they're adults to me. So I just kept asking them every week, and then we don't know. And so I was so excited about this movie coming out when I was a kid.
so did you guys have any doubt in your mind that Luke was going to be good in this movie? Like, where things left off and like seeing him in the trailers in black and stuff like that. I mean, I know you see him kind of fighting Vader and stuff, but did you have any doubt in your heart, in your 11-year-old heart, that he was gonna?
See, Jen, this is the 80s. 80s story structures. There was no, if you're a good guy, you don't become bad back in the 80s. That's just the way it was, right? Like,
Good guys are good guys.
Yeah, good guys are good guys. Whether he's wearing
Yeah.
black or not, it didn't make a difference. I never once ever thought Luke Skywalker. I'm 11 years old. I wouldn't think
See-
that Luke Skywalker would be bad.
100%. I
But
get that.
you're a little bit younger than us, maybe, and so story development's changed so much where they have twists. Back then, there was no twist. Like, okay, Luke, I'm your father. That's a huge twist.
Mhm.
But this one, you're waiting to find out who the next Skywalker was, right? That's
Right.
that's what
No,
we're
but
waiting for.
when I watched them as a kid, like I never doubted that Luke was
Okay.
good. Like that was never a thing for me. But I remember
Yeah.
when I got older and people were talking about like, oh, this was we were wondering if he was going to be good at the end of this movie. So much has happened and his friends are all on this adventure. And I just didn't have that take when I saw it as a kid. Luke is a good guy. Luke is the best guy. Like Luke is gonna
Right.
save the day.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I had blabbed about this in the past, but in hindsight, and it's easy for us now to look back at a perfect movie, in my opinion, like Return of the Jedi. I love it, but I wish that, and I think Lucas was trying to make maybe Luke be a little darker to maybe give that feeling that maybe he was still struggling or something, maybe not, but I wish that there was opportunity for Luke to do or say things that maybe like that made Han or Leia go, Luke, are you okay? And
we need to be worried about you. Yeah.
to be tricking us, right? Even Leia saying, Luke, you're not, you aren't the same person. What is going on? He's like, no, I'm fine. Even have him, it'd be cool if he would have known George Lucas, about the prequels, even have Luke maybe scarred a little more because maybe he was more reckless over the years that Han was gone. And maybe the longer hair, maybe a little not so together.
Yeah.
That all the black would have made sense, right? It would have been like, you would have started thinking, wait a minute, what's going on with Luke? And it might have made us think, oh, I wonder if Lucas is going to do that. And then in the end, he pulls through. I just wish he would have kind of maybe pushed that envelope a little more of making Luke say borderline questionable things like, no, I think we should just take them all out, or we should this, or being more aggressive and angry. But
Well, he was. That's a great point, and one of the things I picked up on, even back then, the same age as you guys, 11-year-old little Jason, I was so taken to Return of the Jedi right away when I saw him in that black outfit. I was like, wow. It was just this culmination, this character that started as this kid, and now he's super serious. And I think Lucas kind of did what you're saying, just in his demeanor. That's a great
Right.
point, though, that maybe there could have been a little more dialogue or development sort of, but I thought that was kind of implied with just how like how serious he was, on top of the look with the black outfit, which I thought visually even did like sort of set him apart from everybody. I thought that right away, like, wow, he's so serious, but it was so cool too, because I had the sense that he was really powerful now. And that was like one thing I thought about when I watched the movie this time too. I love that we kind of started with this, because my biggest impression of all the things coming away from watching it again was how wonderfully, everybody talks about character development, so many movies fail with development. Luke Skywalker through the original trilogy, farm boy, just dressed in those loose kind of white outfit, and like, hey everybody, and whining. Empire Strikes Back, he visually looked very different in that outfit. Now he's trying to take things more seriously, but as a classic student, he's getting way ahead of himself. Totally different demeanor. And then you cap it off, Return of the Jedi, another huge leap forward. Each iteration of Luke Skywalker was extremely different, and I give that a huge credit to Mark Hamill for playing it like that well. He was totally different. I mean, real, he developed a New Hope, and then trying to be serious, but not quite getting it in Empire, and
Impatient.
Return of the Jedi. Yes.
Very impatient in Empire, yeah.
And then suddenly Jedi, you see this very calm and just, and his line delivery is he's so much more intense in this movie than even in The Empire Strikes Back. So that was the hugest thing right out of the gate, was the transformation of Luke Skywalker through the original trilogy is so wonderfully done by Mark Hamill and by the writing.
Yeah, like for me, like again, I love the original trilogy, but for me, Return of the Jedi is the weakest one for me, and the main reason why, again, I really felt like I remember watching the first time and feeling this way, and I watched again last night, yesterday, or was it Saturday? It doesn't really matter what day, but I watched it this weekend, and I just really miss the bad Vader. Like halfway through the movie, you can really tell that Vader's changing. And he's just not so intimidating like he was. As soon as the Emperor comes on, now just when the Emperor comes on, Vader's not the biggest bad guy in the room, right? And I really feel that way. And I just like where I liked him in Empire Strikes Back. It's my favorite movie when he's a no nonsense, he's in control, and everybody's afraid of him. And I just felt like this movie, he didn't have that same fear factor, and I just missed that about Vader in this movie. And especially when I'm gonna fast forward when Luke surrenders himself, that little conversation, you can really see, which again, great job of the filmmakers, that you can see that Vader's changing right there in that conversation, right? And it's like,
I love that scene.
I was gonna say that's my favorite scene of the whole movie, is the hallway scene.
And I'm not saying it's bad. I just miss the big bad Vader, where I just he got soft. You could see he talked a tough game, but he was soft. You could hear in his voice, which again, great job to
he had to though.
And isn't the whole point? Wasn't it supposed to be a redemption story? Isn't that the whole thing? The whole
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying I missed the guy everybody's afraid of. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, to me,
his character was developing too, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I'm not saying I would do it any different, or I even make a suggestion how to make it different. I just missed.
You like the bad boy Vader.
I'm Trooper Todd for a reason, because I like the bad guys.
Yeah.
No,
well, that's the thing is at the end, Luke isn't confronting like a big bad Vader, but he is confronting helplessness in a way he's never confronted it before. Like that whole, the window where he's seeing the fleet be destroyed. You know what I mean? It's a completely different battle. It's not as, and obviously the lightsaber battle is totally different than the other movies and stuff, and a lot more intense and things like that. But I think to me, that was I remember getting super frustrated as a kid with that scene, because he's just watching it happen and there's nothing he can do. And that is infuriating, for me and my temperament, I hate it. I hate that, just seeing it and there's nothing.
Not to mention, you have this guy trolling him the whole entire time. This movie is the first example of trolling, right? This was invented from the internet. You can say I can say whatever I want about Vader, but man, how bad is it? What I mean by bad, how good was the Emperor?
Every line,
everything he does,
every line of everything he says, everything is like quotable and awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, and I can't think of anybody to pull off that character better than
Ian McDermott.
Yeah,
Ian
no, the
McDermott.
Emperor was
Yeah.
perfect. And
That role was designed for him, and he's probably
Yes.
never done anything as good as that. You know, like what he did in that movie. 'Cause really, it's the first real. I know we had a taste of it back in Empire Strikes Back, but it wasn't. You know, he totally changed his look, unless you're watching the special edition. But you know,
Chimpanzee eyes.
when he walked on set the first time, right? And he walks off his shuttle, walking down with Vader, like, you know, it was just right away you're hooked, and it just again hit the performance of Ian McDermott was just so strong, so intimidating, and just that voice he had, you know, it was so good.
You've
It's
done
just-
well, Lord Vader.
Yeah, you know, it's just like
What about-
oh. Yeah,
You know,
just-
and Return of the Jedi was also, I always go back to this. I love the underside of Star Wars, right? Like the Mandalorian shows all this kind of stuff. And this was kind of the, you know, I'm pretty sure it was the first time we kind of see the underbelly, right? When we get to see Jabba in the very beginning of the movie, right? Jabba the Hutt to go rescue Han. And in that attempt, I just have to show this picture because I think it's so funny.
Mhm.
You know, I don't know if you would see this today in if Return of the Jedi was made today, having quote slave Leia, but I always thought you know, as 11-year-old me, Jabba just blew me away, right? It's like, how did they do that? You get this special, you know, behind the scenes later, and you're like, oh, there's like 4 people in that thing.
Yeah.
the 4 or 6. I thought there was 6 operators.
Oh, was
for
it?
I think it might be. Well, in 6 in total, because there's the tail, the eyes, the mouth, the arms, right? Like I think it's 6, but I could be totally wrong.
So so we get to see like Luke for the first time too. And going back to Luke wondering if he was going to turn bad, when he first enters, he chokes out. I'm assuming it's force choking those 2 Gamorrean guards.
The guards, yeah.
Yeah, where you would think that if maybe Lucas had thought about it a little more, like maybe I shouldn't have him force choke, but have him like force push them out of the way. You know what I mean?
That's kind of what you were talking about, though. If you think about it, and I was going to say that before. When he does that, we've never seen him do because that's an aggressive thing.
Yeah,
people
force
argue
choking
that
has kind of been a Vader thing.
Yeah, that was almost
you
a dark
haven't
side.
seen Yoda do it.
thing
You
right
didn't see
there.
Obi-Wan do it. You know.
But again, force pushing would have been really hard to do in 1983.
Yeah.
What about mind tricking them though? What if he had come over and just given them like a wave and they had like stepped back? You know, that kind of thing.
Could have done that too. I you know, now that you mention, I went, oh, I've never really thought of it that way before. Like, you know, I know he just went like this. It wasn't. He's like, he didn't kill him. He just like they stepped back. And I see what you're saying though. It seems very aggressive for a Jedi to do. You don't really see Jedis choking out anybody. So yeah, it's a really good point. But I like to see it too.
What Steve said. It kind of does what you were saying before. It does kind of establish. Oh wow, you know, that adds to the intensity of Luke.
Yeah.
Again, Luke is kind of like one of the only Jedi out there that we know of at that point in time, right? So again, he's probably learning his way around the whole entire. You know, he doesn't have a side-by-side master teaching him all the way through it, right? So maybe he's, you know, pushing things a little further because he's trying to make a point that, you know, he should be listened to. I don't know, who knows, right? But yeah, I think you bring up a really good point. But I also like to say too, I like my Gamorrean guards more plump than skinny, like they are in Mandalorian.
In the Mandalorian.
Mandalorian, they're way too skinny for me. They looked odd. Just looked so weird.
They were like fighter Gamorreans. They weren't like in a like lazy palace.
All the Gamorrean, even in Jabba's palace or Bib Fortuna's palace, they were skinny.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they're just not getting well. They're not as wealthy as they used to be, so not eating as much.
They didn't have as many porg wings.
But don't the Gamorrean guards look better plunk?
I think so, absolutely.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought of that. That's funny though. They were.
I hadn't
they
thought
were
of that either.
slimmer. I guess they were fighting Gamorreans.
You're watching when Luke comes down the stairs, or you know when Chewie comes in with the bounty hunter. There, you know, and they're trying to waddle. They're just waddling because they're so big. They're just very entertaining to watch.
This is the costume. Yeah. Were you guys fooled that by the bounty hunter that brought Chewie in? You know, I guess the first scene when the bounty hunter is negotiating with Jabba, it was like, oh, okay, that's the bounty hunter that brought Chewbacca in. And then later on, and when, you know, it's Leia in the costume, I always laugh now watching it because when she's walking in to where Han is and she's like so daintily walking, you're like, I'm pretty sure that's a woman. That's probably Leia.
The
But you know
first
what?
time I saw it, I didn't know. As a kid, I didn't
Right,
the first
for sure.
time. And now you see it,
Well-
and you're like, oh, of course it is. Yeah.
So when R2 and C-3PO are walking up to Jabba's palace, C-3PO says something to R2 about like Chewie and Lando haven't come back or something like that. So I
Right.
think I thought it was Lando. Like
Oh.
I think that's kind of what I had assumed, that it was Lando and Chewie together. I don't
You don't-
think that.
Yeah, they don't establish Lando until they drag Chewie off and he pulls down the
And
mask,
then that's
right?
when
So
you see him.
yeah.
So I think that's kind of who I
See-
thought it was.
See, as a kid back in 1983, I knew exactly who it was because the comic books came out before the movie did, and I
yeah.
collected them. And then, of course, you have to. And then, plus, there was also trading cards that came out before the movie came out. And one other thing was toys. The toy lines came out before the movie did. So you had this Princess Leia thing that the head came off. You can clearly see.
It's
I didn't have it yet,
Yeah.
but it was all in the advertising sort of thing. You could see it, right?
I don't
So-
remember seeing her in that figure right away. Huh.
Oh, really? Maybe it was the second. But I just remember. I know I had the comic book. I know I had the trading cards, and they just gave up lots of stuff all the
I
time.
gave up.
Toys are always the thing that give away. Like they
Even
did that
today,
with the sequels. There was some things that were given away with the toys.
Yeah, always stupid toys. But yes. So I knew who it was. So, but again, I'm 11 years old. I didn't care. It was still awesome,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't. That
So
wasn't
what
worried
about the whole plan in general to rescue Han? I know that's kind of a joke. I've seen it on Family Guy, where they go out to the Sarlacc pit and we throw it in, and it's like that whole.
I
the
love
scene
it.
in
It's
the
so
movie where it's
funny.
like
Everything about it is so great.
everyone's looking,
The nods.
It's so good.
They
Yeah.
all nod to each other. Like,
But
Hey.
Family Guy, they did the spoof. It was like
Because they did it over and over.
no,
it
we
was
should do that like in the 4 screens here. Like Steve, you should have the music cues, and that should be a thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep looking
I
up
know.
Steve, looking over Jen, look over Jason.
Oh,
I
wait.
thought it should be this way to Jason.
Yeah.
Look over to Jen. Look over to Steve. Right? But again, I really like it. Again, the music really sets the pace, sets the
Yeah.
tone. The editing's really well done. Again, you don't really know. I like how you know something's going to happen, but you don't know what's going to happen, right? And just
Yeah.
I really like how it progresses. I sure like my Sarlacc's pit without the clamshell
The
kind of
beak.
beak.
The
Yeah.
special edition thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Tentacles and the beak and the
yeah, Empire Strikes Back, there wasn't too much excessive. Now I'm watching it on Disney Plus, going just showing all the excessive stuff, and I just don't know if it made it better.
There's another dialogue change there too with the Han. He says, "It's all right. I can see a lot better."
I see a lot better now.
That's changed.
threw that in.
special edition. The original dialogue is different.
Really?
You can
I
see
don't
his
think
mouth
so.
say something else.
Yes.
No, you can see his mouth say
Yeah.
something else, and it's on. I meant to watch the theatrical version of this one, but I just didn't have time to see what it is. But he says something else.
I mean, when he says, like, instead of seeing a big blurry black thing, I now see a blurry bright
he's
thing.
about when he's aiming like right at the tentacle that's got Lando. He
No, he
says
really said I'm seeing much better. He always said that.
He just says "trust me" or something. He just says a couple words. Yeah, all
Yeah.
through the special edition. Very sneakily changed a ton of dialogue, and a lot of it was kind of unnecessarily like.
Yeah.
He's like, "It's all right. I can see a lot better now," and it's like,
Which
you
is
didn't need to
funny.
shove
It's a
all
great
that.
line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very funny line. It adds to the scene. I think it was a value added, change, but it is a change.
It's a little forced sounding though.
Yeah.
I should remember the original. I don't know why I'm not right
Yeah,
now.
I meant to watch it because I knew there's a change there because it's one that you can see his mouth say something completely different.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch. I'll punch in my VHS there and find out. My buddy Dax. That's my buddy Dax Brown watching from
Hello.
Nanaimo from the
What's
alley.
up?
Welcome. So one of the deleted scenes, I wish they would have left in, maybe it wasn't really needed, but after they rescue Han and they were going back to the ship and there was that sandstorm and Han thanks Luke, you know what I mean? I thought that was kind of a cool scene. Maybe it wasn't needed for time, but it's just one of those scenes I like seeing, what they actually deleted because you didn't see a lot of that back in the 70s and 80s. Now
No.
they have tons of deleted scenes. Nothing's ever thrown out. So
They're
really good for Return of the Jedi. The
I don't
deleted
think I've
scenes
ever
are
seen
really
that
good.
scene ever.
oh, really?
I don't think I've ever seen it. I have to check it
I
out.
don't have either.
There's
Well,
a
me and
couple
Jen are in the
really
dark.
cool ones,
Hmm.
and
In the
the
dark,
one, of
Jen.
course, with Luke constructing his saber in the cave on
Yeah.
Tatooine.
I've seen that one. I've
That's
seen that
That's
scene.
really cool. And there's
I
Vader.
understand why
Vader.
they cut that
Yeah.
one though.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the whole Jabba thing, the whole escape scheme. I thought it was really well executed. Even like the whole again watching the whole C-3PO it gets brought into the back room to be interviewed for being working in Jabba's palace and the torturing all the other
The
robots.
other gonk
Yeah.
droid. Isn't that
Yeah,
the
the
gonk
gonk
droid's
droid. I
upside
knew
down,
that.
isn't it?
I was totally thinking you jamming at the gonk droid going. I was like, oh,
That's so funny.
just torturing him, ripping other ones, disintegrating the other protocol
What
droid.
they're doing? Are they branding his feet? Like what? What is
I think they're just
happening
burning
here?
his feet.
They're
I
just
guess. I just
burning
it
his
doesn't really make sense because
pain
droids
center.
have feelings. Even do they feel that?
I don't
But in the
know. What is
bottom of his
happening there?
feet.
Wasn't that a gonk droid
so
too?
funny.
That's
Yeah,
what I was
the- yeah,
saying.
the
I
gonk-
think it's
yeah,
a
the
gonk
gonk
droid.
droid. Yeah,
But
it
it's
was
like
one,
the
yeah.
second generation, like
As
gonk
if life
because like
isn't
it's
up
different
enough.
than the one that was in A New Hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
mean-
It's kind of screaming too. Like,
Yeah.
no. But
And you
That's
know what
funny.
probably happened is Jabba woke up, his cell phone was dead. He didn't charge it correctly.
Yeah,
That's it
right?
for his feet.
Yeah,
Right.
So-
burn his feet, man.
Okay, so then they make it to the fleet.
can we go back? I want to talk about Boba Fett. Anybody else still
Oh, yeah.
disappointed that
Oh,
Boba Fett just got
yeah.
knocked out so easily?
Everybody
Yeah,
Boba
was.
when that
Fett.
whole like Boba Fett, where?
Where?
It was funny, but it just it's Boba Fett, and everybody's afraid of Boba Fett. He's supposed to be this thing to be feared, and it's
Jetpack
like,
just goes off.
and it's okay, it's funny, but I just wish there was more.
His arms
Yeah.
are waved. He's like, oh!
I'm totally like, I don't fly
we-
ever. Like you
yeah.
fly all the time, dude. Just
Yeah.
anyway.
We
It
all
is what-
thought it was kind of a weak. It was sort of a weak.
It was, yeah.
disappointing.
Sorry, I had to
demise.
bring that
But
up.
then the Mandalorian.
Yes, no, I know.
Yeah.
But again, this is 1983.
Mandalorian.
I watched it 5 times in the theater, and I was every time going, "Why is he just dying so easily?"
I know.
Yeah.
He kind of it's
But
it's
he
like
didn't die.
Yeah,
Well, sorry.
that's true. He
Well,
didn't
thank
die.
goodness. Spoiler: Boba Fett
You know
didn't
that.
die.
We know that 30-some years later, but of
He
course,
got
I think
Chewed
he
up
was
a bit.
yeah, a little bit. But yeah, so them gathering for the fleet. I really like that scene where they all kind of meet up later. Like it's the comedy from Harrison Ford. Like all his little, it's kind of like the class clown comments is what it feels like to me. Like they're all in this military briefing for this really, really important mission to blow up this second Death Star. And it just kind of, watching it this time around is cracking me up because I'm thinking he's like the class clown. He's making comments all the time, and I just picture the generals in their heads going, "I wish that Solo guy would shut up,
Yeah.
stop making
Just
jokes,
leave
man."
already. But yeah,
I loved the scene when they're on the Forest Moon. Not to jump ahead, but you said Solo thing when he's asking 3PO to translate for him. He's like, "And see if you can get our weapons back." And ask him if it like, and every time
Yeah.
C-3PO turns around and he like taps him again, like I love that little bit right there, that little like gem of like 20 seconds of comedy. I love it. It cracks me up every
Hurry up, I
time.
don't have
Like,
all
hurry
day.
up! I don't have all day. And C-3PO's like,
He does a double take, doesn't he?
yeah,
he does. Like he does like a. I just
He's
love
like,
it
"Hurry
so
up
much.
already!" Right?
It's so funny. Like every
Yeah,
time he
it's
turns
so good.
around, and like it's just such a great little 10-second or whatever bit. Like it's just so funny.
And again, this is another time where C-3PO is not terrible, right? This
Oh,
whole
yeah,
trilogy, the original trilogy, C-3PO is solid all the way through. Like where he's a character you don't hate, like he does in.
But
Like,
it's
when he's
against my
telling the-
programming to impersonate a deity or whatever
Yeah,
he says, or
yeah,
dirty
exactly, yeah.
Jedi.
Yeah.
The story was so cool in it when he tells the story.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, he's doing the
effects.
sound effects and
That
stuff.
was one of my
Yeah.
favorite parts as a kid. That story is like, oh, it just brought back all the memories, sort of thing. Just the sound effects and just the way the music went. It just is a really well executed scene. I thought.
Yeah.
Just and again, it's still today you watching
Yeah, I
it.
love that.
I want to go back in time a bit, saying this is the first time that I can remember that I didn't cry when Yoda died.
Oh,
You
Really?
monster.
I did not cry. I cry every time when Yoda died. This time I didn't. I think I was so tired at the scene, so maybe I just didn't have enough energy to cry. But I didn't cry.
What a sad scene, right? Like that whole Luke again. Everything is so serious, right? And then in the scene with Luke and Yoda, and when the puppet, you have to put it into perspective. When the puppet dies, it's devastating. As a kid, being sad, even as an adult, you're like, damn, that puppet should have got an Oscar. That was a really good scene.
That's actually why I avoided this movie as a kid. Was like that was one of the reasons I'd go back and watch Empire over, because I didn't like Yoda dying. I would rather watch Luke get his hand chopped off than I would than Yoda
funny.
dying. Like it was like a scene, you know, like when you're little, like there's like little, like, you know, you don't care about the whole big picture, but it was like the things that I didn't want to watch that. Yeah.
What's kind of funny, like tragically funny in that scene, and I like ages ago, I remember Yoda's literally on his deathbed, and he's like, there is another, he's struggling to Luke, there's another sky, you know, and then he dies, and then Luke walks outside. Obi-Wan's like, oh yeah, you got a sister.
I know.
He's like, even Yoda's last words, struggling to say this, and Obi-Wan's like, oh yeah, he talks about your sister.
Yeah.
Even before that, another great Yoda moment was like when Luke goes, "So I am a Jedi." He's got it. Like, Basilica has one more laugh before I go.
You're killing me, kid.
Luke, you're so funny.
Even the other comment where he's struggling to go across the room, and Luke's looking at him, and he goes, you know, look
900 years.
You do I or something like this, and he's no, and he's like, no, I am. Yes. I do. Like he was just like, I do. Yeah, I do look old. I thought that was kind of a nice small part.
Another
look as good, you will not.
Another example just shows how good Frank Oz is at what he does. Right? Again, you have a puppet. Again, it's not a real thing, but you buy in. There's not one scene where you're not going, that's a puppet. Like you buy in, he's real. And then just even the gasping, like when he's saying Scott, like even today, like we know what he's saying, but when we first saw it, I had no idea what he's saying. Like it's so slow, it's so weak and so like he's weak because he's dying, but it's so well executed and just so well delivered. To the point where like you can feel. That's why I remember. Okay, now I'm starting to get a little more emotional now because I remember this. I'm not so tired today, but just that Yoda dying. It's a tragic scene. I remember as a kid being young and being old. Just again, you get sucked into the story. If I get sucked into the story, if I'm buying everything, if it's emotional, and that's emotional part when Yoda passes on. Then he disappears and the blanket falls down. Right?
Yeah.
It's like
the
wow.
Force took him. Sorry, Jason, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to quick say, and that scene, that whole bit was really good too, because another thing it did, because Yoda was like, you must confront Vader. Mm-hmm. And I was like, now already where we had the whole Jabba scene and all that, you're getting deep into the movie, and you know this is all going down soon. You know, the rebels against the Empire, the confrontation, there's got to be Luke and Vader. And Yoda's like, you must confront Vader. Then, only then, a Jedi will you be. And I was like, oh, man, here we go. I was like, it's coming. So you just knew the heavy stuff. You know, you're right on the threshold of things really taking off. You know, it just capped off the end of the whole Jabba rescue. It's like, all right, we got hand back. You know, and now we're out in space, and Luke's on Dagobah, and here we go. You know, ding, ding, ding. The fight's about to start.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say something really controversial about this movie, and I know it's going to get mixed results from people, but I think one of the most important parts about Return of the Jedi
Is it Yub Nub?
Ewoks
are the Ewoks.
Yes.
The Ewoks are the greatest part of the story. I love Ewoks, and
I'm an Ewok fan. You know, I are so stupid teddy bear. I love the Ewoks. I love them part of the story. I love everything about the Ewoks. Again, they're not my favorite things about Star Wars, but I like the Ewoks. I thought they're done effectively. I thought they helped move the story, and to me, it was believable. But That's just how my take is.
What do you guys think? What, like, Gen Ewoks coming from the other generation?
I think they're fun. They're not my favorite thing either, but I don't hate them. But I think that they're fun. I think it's a fun story. I think that that's kind of a timeless thing of like the natives rallying up and taking on the establishment, kind of thing of the, I like that, idea of that, I mean that I like that story of like the natives with their clubs and their rocks, taking out the bad guys. So I think that that's fun, and I like it. I like that they help, the rebels and stuff. Like I like the story. I like the idea of it. I like the way it looks. I think they're fun, and I like the scene with Leia.
It sounds like a butt coming up here.
There's no butt. It's just they are silly. Like they're not. It's a very simple character design. You know what I mean? It's not like it was super complicated, and it's not. But and their tree houses were super awesome and rad, and I would totally want to live in one of those. So that was cool.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think I sent this to the text to you guys in the chat when I was watching the movie over the weekend. I'm like, hey, I didn't notice they added blinking eyes to Ewoks.
The blinking and the tongue thing. Did you guys notice the tongue thing? There was like
Wicked did it.
Wicked is like, wow.
But he did that back in the original. That's in the original too. Yeah,
I remember that. There was just way more like tongue things happening than I recall.
No, Wicked has it, but Wicked's the only Ewok I noticed that blinked in the opening in that scene. I don't remember any of it. In
the scene with Leia, he blinks a lot, but there are some other ones that blink when they're all in they're all in the scene while 3PO is telling the story.
Okay, then I have to watch. Yeah, I must have missed it. I was looking for other people blink and I didn't notice that, so I didn't see Chief Trooper. But I love the Ewoks dialogue, the dialect. Yeah. I love the sound. I love how they communicate. I really, really, really like it. Again, it sounds very old school, Aboriginal. Just neat.
It is. Didn't they take it from an actual native tribe, American native tribe?
I'm not too sure, but sure love the way it sounds.
Yeah.
They're actually sort of Jawa-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like without the robes, but
they sound a little more furry. They sound a little more. It sounds even the vocals sound furrier. You know what I'm saying? Like just like has a little kind of that kind of a look. Not that I had a cat purr, but I kind of had like a feeling of a little purr or kind of warmness to the voice. Mm-hmm. Where Jawas is kind of squeaky, kind of.
I don't think they would have been. Yeah, I don't think they would have been hated nearly as much too if the rumors hadn't gone out that Lucas had originally planned them to be Wookiees. Remember that?
Oh,
that was
really?
That was known all the way back. Yeah, like that was supposed to be Wookiees, and that was part of what might have been. But Lucas wanted to do the Ewoks because he wanted to show that a far less superior force, as far as how powerful they were in stature, that they could overcome. It was a point of like an underdog, and also because what you were saying, Jen, like because they were natives there, and it was like, well, this is our territory, and they may be smaller and weaker than the elite forces of the Empire, but he wanted to show that they were on their home territory,
mm-hmm.
It was their home, but there was legit plans that was supposed to be Wookiees. So a lot of people actually knew that, and they're like, "Oh man, we could have had Wookiees. It would have been badass." But instead, we got little guy. We got furry little Ewok. So that was some of the hate against them.
But you brought up a really interesting point, though, Jason. The fact that there wasn't that many Imperial people there, right? Ewoks have home field advantage, and plus, quite frankly, the Empire is probably overconfident too, right?
Exactly. Right.
They know the furry creatures are there, but they're not really threatened by them, right? So there's no way that that was their first encounter with them. They never thought they were a threat,
right?
Because they see them once in a while and they have little spears. You don't think anything, right? So again, it all comes. We all know what overconfidence does. They're overconfident. And New Hope, what happened there? Boom, right? So it's just the same kind of structure where they think they're all powerful, but really something can beat you that small.
Right, and that's a classic Lucas trope, something like that. That's very George Lucas-ish. Like it's definitely something he wanted to convey with that whole fight. And it was cool because
never underestimate
later on,
Yeah.
when the fight turns the tables too, which is really cool. And others we talk about, like Star Wars has always had great battles, like just not just special effects, but dramatically how they play out. And when you see the tide turn, it starts with the Ewoks getting their rear ends handed to them. And then when they start to use all their stuff, the tide turns around and that the ATST gets smashed by the two logs coming in at it. And then it trips. You know,
Well,
the other one trips and everything. So the Ewoks,
they had to spread them out, right? So that's what they did.
Yes.
They go in, they shoot their arrows. You know, they're not taking out a high percentage, but okay, now they spread them out. They spread them out. They're gonna be weaker. They can outnumber them, and get them. You look at it like I never really looked at it before like that until now, where that's what they're doing. They're spreading out and conquering that way, right? Then now they're big bad, but they spread them out. The numbers are thinned out. Therefore, rocks and sticks and logs and of course when Chewie and the two Ewoks jump in that one chicken walker, it kind of level the playing field too, right? It's nice to have some heavy offense because
that was great.
Their catapults weren't working at all. It was even like I remember when the chicken walker shoots and it blows up and the Ewoks went down. One got up and one didn't get up. I remember as a kid
it's so sad.
It's so sad.
Yeah, sad, right?
Again, this is one of the very few Star Wars movies where it shows the good guys. Knowing except for the first scene in episode A New Hope, where in the Corvette where the stormtroopers come in, you don't see a lot of good guys dying. Right? You see this battle on Hoth, good guys dying, but this is a good indication showing that there's casualties on both sides here, and it was really sad, and it still makes you sad when you hear the little dying gasp from that Ewok,
the little dying gasp. Yeah. I mentioned before we went live, I watched this video on Kevin Smith, and someone asked him a question about the prequels, and it's funny. He said, the prequels had Jar Jar, and the original trilogy had the Ewoks, so we're even or something. Some kind of comment like that. I thought that was. So
you
funny.
Think Kevin Smith doesn't like Ewoks?
Well, he was saying
that's the thing that got made fun of. I think that's the thing.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
Yeah.
So.
And the sequels have porgs.
Oh, I hate porgs.
Oh. See?
Just wait. But they don't advance the story. That's the problem. They're useless. Ewoks have a purpose. Jar Jar, as stupid as Jar Jar is, had a purpose. Porgs have zero purpose. Sorry.
Did you guys see my?
They taste good.
I picked up the.
Yes, I did see that.
I love it.
Nice.
I actually see you have another Jar Jar Binks in the back shelf too. Like you have two Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah, he's right.
That's a commitment.
Yep.
Right here.
Yeah, that's a commitment. That's a commitment there, Mr. Wookiee Steve.
I got that at a flea market, and I thought it still worked. I had to buy it because it's so funny. So, anyways.
You can love Jar Jar.
Going back.
That's fine.
Go back. You know what? When we first see the Ewoks too, they capture our heroes and they're going to eat them. That's hilarious.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly
and they had clothes for Leia, so they obviously had eaten a female at around her size.
You know what? I never thought of that. That's a very good point. She probably didn't sew that herself.
No.
So it's a good chance that
who's the other? Who was she? I wonder.
Yeah.
Somebody else got eaten.
So let's get into the confrontation between Vader, Luke, and the Emperor. I guess that whole build up. Like Jen was talking about this earlier, right? Where Luke's kind of trapped, right? He's watching the fleet getting pummeled out there, and it's just not working out for him. And the fight between him and Vader, which I thought was my favorite fight of the series. Obviously, there was only a couple then, because it there was a lot of passion, especially when Luke kind of went all cuckoo when Vader was threatening to, if Luke won't turn, then he'll get sister. That when Vader finds out,
that's when he does the never.
I just thought that was so amazing. The music, and he's stronger. He's actually this time really overpowering Vader.
That was intense to see.
Yeah,
for the first time, like especially just.
Like this scene really kills me.
You couldn't believe it. Like, oh my God, Vader! Oh my God, Vader!
He brought him down. Yeah, like
it just shows too how anger has a lot of power sometimes, right? Which leads to the dark side because he got angry, and that's what gave him a little more, power
Like-
over Vader there, and he took it to Vader, where Vader's now on the defensive, which has never happened before, right? Up
Right.
until that point, Vader's always on the offense, Luke's always defending. Here, at that moment in time, everything shifted.
So I do have another question. So when Luke grabs his lightsaber and goes to strike the Emperor,
Yes.
do you think that when Vader puts his lightsaber out to stop him, is Vader stopping Luke? Is Luke saving the Emperor, or is or is Vader saving Luke? Like when he stopped, is
Wow.
Vader saving the Emperor, or is Vader saving Luke when he does
I
that?
never
What is his
thought of that.
intention?
Pandora's box.
Mm.
Wow.
Wait, say that again. Is
So
Luke
no, sorry,
saving
like Vader is
No,
Vader. When Vader puts the lightsaber between Luke and the
Yeah.
Emperor, is Vader saving the Emperor from getting struck down, or is Vader saving Luke from himself,
At that point, I believe he's saving Vader. He has not turned fully.
or saving the Emperor? Or no.
'Cause he's protecting the Emperor at that
Okay,
point.
all right. You think that that's what he's
I
doing?
like that theory, though.
It's a
I
great,
like
no,
that.
it's a
That's
great
good-
thing.
No,
to think
it's a great
about,
thing
but-
to kind of to
Hmm.
marinate on, because it's like,
But I
yeah.
at that point, he's protecting Vader. He's protecting
Yeah.
the Emperor at that point.
I agree with Jason 100%, but at the same time, what an interesting theory you bring up.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a great point.
I
No,
thought,
it's a great
like,
thing
wow,
to talk
I don't think that's it at all. I'm with Jason, but at the same time, it's something you could actually debate.
Yeah. Is he stopping his son from making the same mistake he did?
Right.
Is that
Because
what
he's
he's
already
doing?
feeling soft, right?
Yeah.
Like Todd was saying
Is
earlier.
that why he stops his son from striking the Emperor?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
definitely worth thinking. It's a great thought. But
Yeah.
I still think at that point,
I absolutely think you're right, and I think that's the more obvious choice is usually the answer there. But I just think that is something that
it's interesting
conflict
too
in him.
because
That's very cool.
Yeah.
it's showing too, like, how God, how with the Emperor, like, I mean, the Emperor, we know he's powerful enough to where he himself ultimately, probably
He didn't
couldn't
even
stop the
flinch.
strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he has so much faith, like, still that Vader is so much under his control.
that he knows that he will. Yeah.
he's not worried about it. But all of these scenes, and Todd, like, some of the stuff you said tonight, like, I totally agree. Like, oh man, there's a couple thoughts. Like, Return of the Jedi, you can argue it has, like, some of the kind of weaker points of the whole original trilogy. And some people say the Ewoks, and some people have said because the main trio of characters, Han, Luke, and Leia, didn't quite have that energy in the other two movies because now they're all more mature and it's more intense. So everybody's a little more subdued. So it was a little different dynamic and everything. But those scenes with Vader, Luke, and the Emperor, every single one of them, every single line of dialogue to me is the absolute pinnacle of Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's the best stuff, and because there's so much going on between the Emperor and Vader, the Emperor and Luke and Vader. All three of those characters have great tension and interplay between all three of them, all three of them together and then individually. And another thing, just thinking about this, like, Todd, what you said before about Darth Vader, which I agree is unquestionable. Darth Vader is at his peak and just, the most intense and powerful in The Empire Strikes Back. Now, his little kind of step back, in intensity with that and a little bit of his uncertainty, all of him not quite being that through Return of the Jedi does lend weight to the credibility of him, of where he ends up, like with Luke overpowering him and ultimately winning him back to the light side. So had Vader been the badass, from Empire Strikes Back, and then the turn had been more abrupt with him, it might not have worked as so much. So I think all of Return of the Jedi put him on a, and you said that too before, absolutely. So I'm just thinking out loud though how good the character development played out in Return of the Jedi. Even though I'll find, like, I agree with some people that it might be in some ways the weakest of the original trilogy, but to me it's also the strongest for how all of that stuff played out. Luke, the evolution of Luke, the evolution of Darth Vader, and eventually turning, and how Palpatine was playing the whole thing, and then ultimately did underestimate that Darth Vader would finally turn on him. Perfect, like, beautiful. And it's stuff that future Star Wars and recent Star Wars maybe didn't, maybe could have learned from. Like this is kind of some of the stuff that was missing, maybe.
Well, again, like you're saying, you guys both everybody brought up tonight is the story, the character development of Luke through the 3 movies, the character development of Vader through the 3 movies, right? That's the thing that all the other prequels, I think that the prequels, I thought hit that story structure well, but the new ones for sure was missing all that stuff, right? Like it definitely, it was really good. Again, I think what they did was the perfect thing to do. I just missed the bad Vader. That's all.
Oh, no, I
saying.
totally get it. I totally get it.
Saying they
No
should
question.
be. I just miss it, but you're right. Because if he was badass right from the beginning, that switch would have came out of nowhere and it wouldn't make as much sense. Like I don't really believe that, right? So you're right. It had to happen the way it did for the stories to make sense, for that big confrontation to make it work, and they did a really good job with it for sure. Again, I don't know why it's my weakest one. It just is.
No, it's
weakest
fair.
of the original trilogy. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, the Empire Striker was so good.
Now, did anyone else get goosebumps during that part right there?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh
Or is it
yeah.
just
Every
me?
time. No, every time.
It didn't. The first time it didn't really affect me much. It didn't affect me this time either. It just,
Really?
I don't know why. It just. I don't know.
You monster. How could you?
I'm sorry. Again, maybe this is why it's not my favorite movie, because those little things that weren't big. Like, when Vader said he was his father, that was huge, and I like the just that was, again, it's good, but it just doesn't make me go, whoa. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
We watched this together. In the
I know,
movie theater
Steve,
when
and it was
came
still
out.
great.
You lied to your mother.
I still you get we're talking like if Empire Strikes Back is a 10, Return of the Jedi is 9. I'm sorry, it's just not a 10. That's all. And that line's good. He throws the lightsaber away. Again, it's good. It just doesn't really hit me like it hit you guys. That's all. I'm just saying, it's like, okay,
break my heart, break your mother's heart, break
my
all
mother
mothers'
hates Star
hearts.
Wars.
You know what I thought was funny? So when Luke is avoiding Vader and he's hiding, and Vader's like, "Oh, you can't resist." And he's looking around. Like Luke apparently didn't learn how to play hide and seek, because I was like, "I won't fight you."
Yeah.
He turns to where the sound was coming
He's
from.
gonna find you, dude.
Maybe he's throwing his Jedi power. Maybe he's throwing his voice.
I just thought it was so funny. It reminds me
Thanks,
of my oldest daughter. Reminds me when she was like 3 or 4 and she wanted to play hide and seek. I'm like, okay, go hide, and then she go hide somewhere, and then I would do this. Are you in your bedroom? She'd be like, no.
I will not fight you.
It's so funny. So that makes me laugh, right? So,
well, apparently Goldberry says I'm being incorrect.
Oh yeah,
Goldberry being incorrect. Well, does he know my wife? Like, come on, like we're.
It's like she just knows.
Just so you know, I'm wrong all the time anyway, so I'm not insulted by that.
I have 2 daughters and I'm married, so I know how much I'm wrong.
But I do like, that line you're saying, again, it's a good line, but I do like how the Emperor reacts to that line. So be it. Jedi.
Yeah.
Jedi.
You see it in his face. He's like, yeah, okay, then this is it. You can tell that he knows he's failed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's that.
And then force lightning. Yes.
Force lightning. Didn't they cut some of that out? Like some of the like Luke screaming. I thought they'd cut some of that down.
I don't think so. One thing I always look for is when it goes to his teeth and it goes into his teeth. I always wait for that moment. That's my favorite part, when he's getting electrocuted. That's a terrible thing to say. But when it goes
favorite
to his
part of when the hero is being electrocuted.
He's like, I'm just. It's my.
Tell me more about.
It's my hats off to the animators who did such a good job of making it look good, people.
Again, and Vader, you see a skeleton.
Yeah,
when it's happening.
So good.
A little bit sick.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I have to bring this up.
I have that figure, actually. I have the Vader electrocuted figure where you.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
That's awesome.
I have it too, right here.
You do? Yep. That one. I have him.
Oh, that's so cool.
Nice.
It's one of something my friend got me for a birthday years and years back, probably 20 years ago. And it's up there. But yeah, I love that. One thing I really hate with this special edition I watched, I don't think it was on the first original special edition where Vader's yelling no, and picks up and throws him. I really hate that. It was much better.
Yeah,
They added another no.
Quite frankly, when it says no, like originally he's picked him up and threw him. He didn't say no at all. Because what happens to the first no, skulls are always cool. Yeah, of course they are. So like when he says no and then grabs Palpatine, like, if he's saying no, wouldn't that alert Palpatine? Look, what do you mean no? Like, it just took away that element of surprise of Vader grabbing him.
He was too into his work. I like the robot chicken version where they're doing that scene and the Emperor is zapping him and Vader's coming over, and the Emperor's thinking in his head, he's like, "Hey, give me some space here, like give me some room." And he's like, "Wait a minute, is he leaning in? Are we really doing this?" He's making it out like he's gonna kiss him, and then he picks him up. I just thought that was so funny.
Robot Chicken does. Seth Green, who is one of the big producers of that show, loves Star Wars, right? You can see even the guy who makes Family Guy. What's the guy's name who makes Family Guy?
Seth
MacFarlane.
Yeah.
Like, loves Star Wars, right? When they did their little specials, like, the fact that Seth Green is actually one of the characters in Family Guy is pretty cool too, right? When they're like, I just love what they do because they love it. And to me, like, obviously, Return of the Jedi has the second most quoted line of all Star Wars films. Which, do you guys know what that is? You guys don't know what it is, do you?
No.
It's a trap that gets used in all the movies.
Yeah.
It's the second most quoted line.
Admiral Akbar.
And Admiral Akbar is so cool. It's a trap. Everybody loves that line. Everybody does that line. When I guarantee you watch a movie, sometimes it's a trap. Everybody goes, "It's a trap," because they always think of that line.
You have to say it with your mouth like full of spit, though. Like,
well, exactly, yeah, it's a trap. But anytime I hear that line in any other movie, I always think of that line. And so many people parody that line, and usually in comical ways, but
absolutely,
right. So
it's number one in a way for being.
I actually thought that the Millennium Falcon was going to get destroyed in that movie. I thought they
when Han is like, I just got a feeling like I'm never going to see her again or whatever, like that, like foreshadowing. It's like, what are you guys doing?
See, that's a misdirection. That's where I feel that way about Luke being bad, but I sure thought the Millennium Falcon wasn't coming home. I agree with you 100% there, Jen. Guys,
he got the hell beat out of it, and Lando about took the thing apart.
And sorry.
Not a scratch.
Not a scratch.
I was just going to say one thing has to be said to that space battle, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To this day, that they did that with practical effects.
I know.
That entire thing is completely, and even the special edition, I'm sure they might have cleaned up little things.
They didn't.
But they didn't add anything, though. That space battle and all those shots that they're 100% practical effects is unfreaking believable.
The first
to this
shot,
day, it blows me away.
When the fighters first come,
they come swarming right at you.
They're coming out the Millennium Falcon, and then the Millennium Falcon goes through. Is the best shot in special effects history done the way they've done. It's just again, remember, each one shot individually against a blue screen, then cut out by a matte, then put over top the original, which cuts out. It's just would take forever for that one shot alone.
It's unbelievable.
It's a mind. And I remember. When the Superstar Destroyer gets hit, and it starts going down. I remember as a kid just going, just like, wow, this is really happening. And it just when it goes inside and the big flames, like, so good. Like,
I was just happy to see Wedge live throughout the entire
and Wedge survived. Yes.
Actually, Wedge has a better track record than Luke, really. Because Luke, he had a bad time with a snow speeder. He got dinged a couple times. Oh, didn't Wedge leave early? Wedge left early in New Hope, didn't he?
Sorry.
And then he he took off. Yeah. So, Wedge is awesome.
Yeah.
It was nice that they brought him back for episode 9.
Yeah.
So during the celebration, after they're having the big party down on the Ewok planet on Endor, were they eating stormtroopers?
Still alive, yeah.
I think that deductive reasoning would allow for that.
I'm
Yes.
pretty sure the rebels weren't eating the stormtroopers, but I'm pretty sure they wouldn't get rid of all that food source.
Yeah.
They're
In
gonna
the
eat
comic,
heroes.
in the comic, I remember they made what was it called? The series where it shows that, and the opening frame has a big party going on, and it's supposed to be right after they're having the party, and two of the pilots are talking, and one guy's eating, and he's like, they make some kind of comment like, "Don't ask where the meat's from." So they were acknowledging kind of what the fans were saying, like the joke. So he's like, I don't want to know where the meat is coming from. So
Have me some ass meat. I hear that's pretty good tasting. Come on.
Well, as
Yeah.
we know, they're connoisseurs of people. You know, they
There you
had
go.
whoever was in Carrie Fisher's outfit. They're gonna cook Han Solo. You know, Han Solo might have been part of the celebration.
well,
They
he
look
was first on the menu.
They
Yeah.
looked well fed in the party. That's all I know. And I sure miss the original song. I really
Yeah.
hate the music they use. I just find it so anticlimactic. Where the original, you look at New Hope has a really good sound score. You look at Empire Strikes Back with that last closing shot. The music built it nicely. This one just seems so, just kind of. It's supposed to be the biggest party in the galaxy, and it just seems so.
Did the original not sound like the Sesame Street song though?
You mentioned that before. I've never picked up on that. I don't think it does. I really like the.
You have to
Yub
find
Nub.
that because like Yub Nub, where we.
I had the single of that.
Bum, bum.
I actually had a 45. I had the record. I had a
Oh,
record of that.
It's such a
Wow.
great.
Yeah.
It's such a
Actually
great
had the
tune.
single.
A record,
Man.
Jen. A record was this piece
I
of plastic
have
that
records.
old
Whoa,
people.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Oh,
Whoa.
okay.
Probably have
I just thought maybe you didn't know because I remember a friend.
I'm a millennial. See, because I'm an elder millennial. We like records because it's vintage.
Vintage. That's true. And it's funny because the rest of the people on this podcast, it's not vintage, it's nostalgia.
I remember Steve used to have a New Hope, a book, a New Hope, and with came with a record. You put on a record player and it would read the story to you and have like laser blast or
I have that
R2D2,
somewhere.
and you turn the page. Like whenever R2D2, you turn the page. And we used to listen to that.
I found another one at a yard sale with the record. Yeah, I remember I had them all. I just because I was lazy kid and I didn't read, so I was like, "Hello, someone read this story to me on a record." And I'm
Well, it's
like,
better because it actually had the voices, right?
Yeah.
For the quotes, it would use the lines from the movie. It was just
Yeah.
really, really cool. As a kid, you had part of Star Wars, right? And I believe, Steve, you actually had the soundtrack for Star Wars too. If I'm not,
my parents bought me this, and I'm trying to look for it, and I've seen it online. It's this blue album. I just remember the cover was blue, and it was the soundtrack from A New Hope. But they also had the disco version of the Star Wars theme on the second side. Hilarious.
I have a disc somewhere. I have a vinyl somewhere, and it's like the music of John Williams though, because it has the music from Star Wars, and then like the other side is the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's like a
That's
so
awesome.
it doesn't have like the full Star Wars suite or whatever from it, or it's like I don't know. It's a neat. I'll have to look at it. I'll pull it out. I haven't listened to it in a while.
Right.
We had the big original record. My brother had the double, the black album with Star Wars on it. We also had we had an 8-track that told the story, and there were sound effects, and it told a Star Wars story. It was a blue 8-track. It had the picture of R2 and C-3PO on it. I can't remember whose voice it was, but it was a voiceover telling you the story, and it had all the sound effects. And that was like gold because we didn't even have a VCR at the time or whatever. It was like, oh, I could sit in my brother's crazy room upstairs and listen to Star Wars at least.
Yeah.
Now, Jen, an 8-track is this little tape-looking thing that really old people used to listen to.
Really old, yeah.
It was terrible technology.
Really old.
Terrible
Really
Yeah,
old.
I did miss 8 tracks by this
You're
much.
so lucky.
You're lucky. It's awful technology. Awful technology.
Okay, and on that note, I know that a lot of us got to run here, so we're going to cut the podcast here. Just want to thank everyone in the chat that showed up, Goldberry, Dax, and everyone else that didn't talk to us in the chat. But I love talking about this movie and actually the whole series. I'm having a great time doing this. And final thoughts on the movie? Good, bad, good.
Well, it's a great movie. You know, it summed up. You know, we didn't ever think we'd have another Star Wars movie, right? It left nothing to the imagination. Everything ended. You know, you knew what happened. The Empire fell, the Rebels won, and the Ewoks were dancing. I thought it was a great wrap up to the original trilogy. Hate the music, the ending music, because I think it's so anticlimactic, especially in the credits. I just didn't care. But overall, loved it.
All right. Anyone else? Okay.
Anybody else?
I have 2 words.
Yes.
Yub Nub.
Yep.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
I love Return of the Jedi. I mean, everything Todd just said, and for me, again, the whole Luke with Vader, like that scene when he first turns himself in, and Vader's, you just sense that he's starting to give a little, and what Goldberry actually says, not the best Star Wars movie, but my favorite. That's where I'm at. Return of the Jedi, and all the scenes. Vader, Luke, and the Emperor, every single scene, just about every bit of dialogue from that trio and all their interactions. It's just to see Luke overcome Vader and just all that stuff. And then that epic freaking space battle. I was completely freaked out. And as a kid seeing it, and I remember just being so excited, but also like, no, it's over. I was so freaked out because it was such a high to end on. The whole thing came to its massive conclusion, but there was like, oh my God, it's over. Having no idea that even a few years later, at least the role-playing game would come out in the novels and everything, which was so awesome when that happened. But yeah, and I love Return of the Jedi. It's me too. I won't say it's the best necessarily, dramatically, whatever, in a way, but to me it was, for the good parts and the main storylines, it was the ultimate conclusion for a trilogy, for sure, for me.
I just want to say, so you mentioned battles, Jace. I really think, like the character development, the epic battles. Every lightsaber got better and better and better. Every lightsaber battle got better, and every space battle got better and better and better. It had a development there too, right? Like you can tell, right. This is it. We're going out. This space battle is gonna be the best thing ever, and no one's gonna be able to top it, right? And that's exactly what they set out to do, and that's what they did for that practical effect type world. Like CGI, much easier to do nowadays, but what they did, and still you watch it today, still stands out as being just so good.
And one point about that, which you just reminded me of, absolutely, you could argue, and every time I've watched Return of the Jedi, which is 800 billion times, the editing and flow of Luke versus Vader and the Emperor, the space battle, and then the Endor battle, tell me where 3 epic massive scenes of action and drama have ever been edited together better. They held 3 totally huge separate ending parts, all dramatic and all action, and the flow of the entire ending of Return of the Jedi, to me, is incredible. It's incredibly well done.
The only thing I can think of that comes close to comparing to that is Avengers Endgame, or even Infinity War, where it had the 3 different storylines all coming together. But again, they had a lot longer to work with, and technology's advanced so much to pull off what they did, right? It's just like, you're right, it doesn't happen very often where you have 3 storylines all happen at the same time, telling the same story and all coming to one conclusion part. Master of storytelling right there.
Right.
Master. And ditto. I will add that. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for watching. And I think that's the end of the podcast.
Wait, no!